Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Scott, and I'm the Education Chair for this year's conference, and it is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker for today. Donisha Prendergast is a dynamic artist, filmmaker, musician, and public advocate whose work spans many disciplines. She is deeply committed to fostering, understanding, unity, and positive change, inspiring people of all ages through her powerful and motivating dialogue. Her presentations are known for being both passionate and engaging, leaving a lasting impact on her audiences. Today, Donisha will deliver her keynote speech titled, "There Would Be No Bob Marley Without Rita Marley, The Garden That Rita Grew, Rita's Timeless Lessons for a Sustainable Future." While she is often recognized as the granddaughter of Bob and Rita Marley, Donisha proudly carries forward their legacy in her own unique way. She believes that if Bob Marley were alive today, his focus would be on community work, not just music. A sentiment she deeply understands, having grown up with the stories, struggles, and inspirations of her legendary grandparents. Continuing the message of one love, Donisha uses her voice to create meaningful connections and inspire positive change. With that being said, it is my great pleasure to welcome Donisha Prendergast.
Yay, thank you, Taylor. Congratulations to all of the hands and hearts that came together to make this conference happen. Can you put your hands together for everybody, all the ideas, all of the energy, the sweat, the tears, the drama, because I'm pretty sure there was some drama, okay? But I'm happy to be here. So greetings, everybody. I am Donisha. As Taylor said, I am a writer, director, filmmaker, producer, actress, activist, and we keep evolving and responding to the earth and to the universe and everything. You know what I mean? I was once a student like you guys too. Couldn't wait to get out to the classroom. But I realized that the classroom is the earth. The whole earth is a classroom. So continue to prepare yourself to continue learning and creating your own curriculum after you leave these walls. Enjoy your time here because we get old fast, okay, guys? No, like, listen, no, for real, okay? Like, time has sped up, like we have a new moon now or something. Have you guys heard about it? There are a whole lot of things happening in this world. Yeah, so live full, right? Today, my presentation is gonna talk a little bit about my grandparents. There would be no Bob Marley if there was no Rita Marley. Shh, what a political thing to say. I've gotten so much flack from saying that. But the truth may be an offense, but it is not a sin, as my grandfather himself said. So I thought it was important when I heard about the topic today, breaking boundaries for a sustainable future. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to do a presentation with data. I'm going to go do all of this research. I'm going to do this. I was like, hold on. Breaking boundaries for a sustainable future. Yeah, but that's kind of what my grandmother did. And what she continues to do. And I kind of took it from this very large perspective and kind of zoned in a little bit and simplified the topic and made it a little bit more relevant, because sometimes, especially being in the classrooms now, we have to think so big, you know, because there's so much happening, and sometimes we overlook our own selves and our own histories and our own lives and all of that kind of thing. I recently launched an exhibit in New York called The Garden That Rita Grew, which is an act of cultural preservation, as is this presentation today. This is my grandma. Yeah. She grew up in Trenchtown, the gutters of Trenchtown. Think about it, Trenchtown. It's called that because in the middle of the town, a trench runs where all of the gutter water from uptown runs to the ghetto. But in this town, so many seeds were planted that became fruits that contributed to this music that we know as reggae music now. You know how in America you guys have Motown? Yeah, Trenchtown was kind of the Motown of Jamaica. So this is my artist statement, which talks a little bit about the importance of archiving in the Black family. It's my artist statement for the exhibit in New York, but again, I wanted to talk a little bit about it because I realized that this is important for us to simplify. How many of us in here have ever recorded a conversation with our grandparents? How many of us have the opportunity to still record a conversation with our grandparents? Okay, homework. Homework. Go have a conversation with your grandparents and record it. You don't know what they're going to say. You don't know how important it is. But this is an act of cultural preservation, of breaking boundaries for a sustainable future. This is how you hold your histories so that it can be passed on, so that your children and your grandparents' children will know what it took to get here and will be able to appreciate what it takes to maintain it. This is a QR code for the Rita Marley Girls Center. So this is the project that we're doing right now. We're building a girls' center for my grandmother in Trenchtown, the community that she came from. Again, breaking boundaries for a sustainable future. You see, when my grandmother was born, she was born in Cuba, and then she came to Trenchtown and grew up. Her mother left her to go to the UK, as many other Caribbean mothers were, to try to find a better life. Her father was a traveling musician at the time. So my grandmother was left in the care of her Aunt Viola. She didn't have many resources. She was also one of the darkest ones in her community, so they used to call her Blackie Tutus. Used to tease her about the color of her skin. But some way, somehow, she broke the boundary of being looked down upon to create a safe space for others. She became known as Gotti in her community. She was one of the first ones to have a television in the ghetto, so she would invite other children to come and watch TV and eat ice cream. These little moments are important because many, many, many years later, she would be on international stages, creating a safe space for other children from other different walks of life, feeding them nourishment through her music. All right, so here we go. This is Trenchtown. My grandma says, we saw Trenchtown and Shantytown as a university, as a place where we learned to survive the poverty, to survive the harassment, to survive the gangsters, to survive all these things. It was a sort of learning lesson, you know? This is my great, great, great grandmother. I didn't know that there was a picture that was still surviving around her. While pulling together this exhibit, The Garden That Rita Grew, it forced me on a deep trek into my family's legacy. Not the Marley side, because the Marley side, you know, that's the very public, very famous. No, I wanted to break that boundary. I wanted to step away from that space to go explore a space that I had never really given respect to. You see, my grandmother has always been there, but she's always been in the shadow of my grandfather. There would be no Bob Marley if there was no Rita Marley. My grandfather also didn't grow up with his mother. So when they met in Trenchtown, they shared that brokenness, that want to be able to be whole. This is her dad, who was a saxophonist, who would travel the world, but was very little at home. And my great-great-grandfather. I'm showing you these images because this is a rebellion to be able to have images like this of my ancestors is not something that many Caribbean people have the opportunity of doing, of seeing, of showcasing, of telling their stories. This is breaking a boundary. It's not this big conversation. It really starts with us. Like, how do we heal generational trauma? How do we open up conversations within our own families and between our brothers and sisters, our uncles, our aunts, our grandparents? There are deeper things to happen in our own homes than even in our nation, than our nation demands sometimes. You know what I mean? I know that's kind of heavy. I know. But it's real. You know, we're talking about breaking boundaries for a sustainable future. We have to talk about healing generational trauma in order to do that, in order to become strong in other spaces too. My great-grandmother Yaya, they said that Yaya used to smoke her cigar from the inside out. Okay, she was from Cuba. She's serious. And this is my grandma's mom, Aunt Bida. Crazy story. I never know Aunt Bida was my great-grandmother because I've never heard my grandma call her mommy. My grandma only called her auntie because that's how she grew up. She didn't grow up with her mom as her mom. So I remember being maybe like 16 or 17 and Aunt Bida came to stay with us in Jamaica at my grandma's home. And it was just interesting seeing my grandma with Aunt Bida because, you know, she became so much younger with her around, and I didn't understand the dynamic until years later when I realized by overhearing a conversation that this was my great-grandmother, you know? So I think, like, what my grandmother must have had to become to be able to heal from that, to be on international stages beside my grandfather, and even after he passed away, what she had to be for the world to build this legacy that we now know as Bob Marley. Because he passed away at 36, right? There are a number of us in here who are over 36, including myself. And when I got to 36, I was just like, bro, what? Like, this is how old my grandfather was when he passed away? My grandmother was like 34. I was like, so just understanding a little bit more context about the humans that are on these platforms and how much they had to go through to break these boundaries for a more sustainable future. This is Auntie Viola. She raised my grandma. If you ever get the chance to read No Woman No Cry, my grandma's book, do. You'll learn about Auntie Vi and how the extended family plays such an important role in creating safe spaces for us. My grandma said in an interview with David Rodigan on Capital Radio in 1980, there's different stages of poverty that exist in Jamaica. People have money, and they are still poor. Okay, nice time. So even though my grandmother grew up in the ghettos of Trenchtown, there was always love in her household. There was always music. There will always be music. Oh yeah. There'll always be a song. That's the kind of vibe. Even though they were poor, they didn't know that they were poor. They didn't treat themselves like they were poor. They didn't understand that. It's not something that you know unless somebody says it to you, I guess. And what is poverty, really? Because some of the richest people in the world are so poor of soul and love and compassion. So what is money when you can't offer more? These were the original soulettes. It's my grandma's like maybe like 12 here. And by the time she was 18, she had created her own singing group. This is before she met my grandfather. So she was singing long before she met my grandfather. As a young woman, she was a very humble person, a nurse. She wanted to become a nurse. I don't think she knew that she was going to be Bob Marley's wife. And oh my gosh, a whole thing happened there. And this is my mom and Uncle Wesley, who is my grandma's brother, who raised her. This is when he too was migrating from Jamaica to Canada to start a better life. This picture is very important because I'm doing a documentary for my mom on my mom's life right now. My mom was in Canada when she learned that my grandfather had passed away, and she was 15 at the time. And she recounts the last time she saw him. One of the last times she saw him, he asked her to oil his dreads for him. So, she's oiling his dreads, whatever, and she tells him that her grandma, is sending her away to school. And she said he just started to cry. He just started to cry. I don't know if he knew that something was happening, I don't know. But she said she was 15 at that time and she didn't know what the tears meant. She thought he was just sad for her to go, and then he wasn't there anymore. So lessons learned from that, like love and love out loud. Because we never know when the moment comes. So this picture is special because, again, this was the first time that Uncle Wesley was going to Canada. And Mommy was a little girl. And for a long time, she had a very bitter place in Canada because of that memory. I live in Canada now, so it's like, that's why it's so personal to me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, am I a part of that memory? But then I was able to bring my mom to Canada earlier this year to perform after 20 years of being off the stage. Again, breaking another boundary and coming back to herself. So it becomes very personal, these histories. The Stolets and my grandma. I want to tell you a little bit about Rita Marley. She's a singer, she's a mother, she's a grandmother, she's a great-grandmother, she's an entrepreneur, she's a philanthropist, she's now a doctor of letters, she's a queen. From this little black girl in Trenchtown, she found a way to navigate the traumas of life to become something that she too didn't expect. She didn't have education like we have the opportunity to today. She didn't go to universities. She didn't sit with scholars. In Jamaica, we would say she turned her hand and make fashion, which means that you work with what you have to make what you need. And the students here at Elon University, visiting students as well, it's a very beautiful moment that we're able to share, because I'm from a very different world from here. They call the world that I'm from the third world. Where's the second world? What happened there? Why are we so far apart? It only took me an hour and a half to get here from Jamaica. Like, what? So many ideas that we have of each other based on what the world has defined us to be. Well, I say no. I say let's continue to redefine and re-explore. Continue to write our story. Not just WRITE, but RIGHT. Write our story. As an actress, I know that every person that I meet is going through their own novel, their own movie. Like, you don't know what happened this moment before. The moment before you and I met President. I have no idea what happened, where you were. You could have been in the bathroom having a little cry. You could have been like, none. I encourage us to continue to meet people where they are. Humanity over vanity. titles are great, but sometimes titles separate us. I walked into your university and saw your president playing table tennis, bro. Talk about breaking boundaries. You know? Talk about creating a new model of coexistence. Like, that's what I am talking about. Yeah. Let's do away with how it's always been done. Sometimes these systems no longer serve us. Let's change the language, reorient how we see ourselves and how we want others to see each other, reinvent ourselves daily. Why not? We live one time. What I said? One time. This moment is now gone. See? It's gone. You know? Live out loud. That's why I keep coming back to my grandmother. Because I'm just like, how was she able to do all of this with so little and so much pressure and like, as a woman now who, I only have one child, he's 4. By the time she was 34, she had like 6 kids of her own and like 7 more that weren't hers that she had to inherit because my grandfather transitioned, like she had to become a mother to many. And then the whole world just expected her to just be a celebrity or something. It's like, no rest, no healing. Did you guys see the One Love movie? Who saw it? How was it? How was it, y'all? Anybody learned anything new? Eye-opening perspectives? Tell me, please. Okay, now they're going to tell each other. They're not going to tell me. I'm here. Nobody's going to tell me. Everybody's going to tell each other. Okay, so you guys can oh yes, come, tell me. Thank you for the brave soul stepping up to the podium.
It was just like an eye-opening like movie to watch because I feel like when most people think of like Bob Marley and his story and like One Love as a general like thing, they just think about him and the Wailers, not actually like how what he did affected like Rita per se or his family or like Jamaica as a whole, and like how his perspective on life changed everyone else's and like the people around him, and that it wasn't always in a positive light. So it was pretty cool to see it from that regard.
Yeah, thank you for stepping up and giving us that insight. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, you know, we have to clap her. We have to dance in the space in between sometimes. You know, like we're humans figuring out this life, figuring out the world. Like sometimes we over-romanticize. There was a young lady earlier in the session who told me she wrote. Was it an article or something that she wrote examining Abraham Lincoln and how romanticized he is? And I think like stuff, I was gonna say another S word, president, but I'm just gonna say stuff like that is important for us to like critically analyze. Like what are these truths that we've been told, from what perspective, at what time, you know? As an artist, my husband is an artist as well, a visual artist, and so he studies a lot of art history. And when you learn more about art history, you have a totally different insight into things like the printing press and the first books that we read, like the Bible and stuff like this. Like, I'm not trying to start a revolution here. I'm just trying to say, apply more critical insight as we learn. Take everything with a grain of salt. Don't become fanatical about anything, because truths evolve based on who has told you and what the intention was. And write. Get your ideas out. Don't think that they're for naught and they're not important. Take yourself seriously. We're all channels. Like I was saying earlier in my session, everything around you was once an idea. Somebody's idea. Please continue to innovate. Continue to challenge those boundaries. Take up space unapologetically. Be nice, be graceful about it. But don't let anybody impede on your sense of self or limit you, diminish your ideas or your capacity. Challenge yourself to become something else, something for which you've never been. I did not say jump in the water if you can't swim. Put on that life vest, okay? Make sure there are no sharkies, all right? Okay? But test the water. Test the water. We won't know until we try. I know, I'm sure you teachers have said this over and over and all that kind of thing, but bruh, we have so much capacity as humans. Expose yourself to the world. Take note of how you react. Like, track your development. Be your own social scientist on yourself. Become your own historian, your own archivist. Please. Nobody's gonna do it for you. Not even your parents. They have lives too, guys. Sorry. Parents have lives too. I'm a parent now. I know. But be graceful with your parents too. As I've grown up, I know I feel like this is therapy now. I'm up here like giving you guys therapy or something. But me too. Like, be graceful. As we get older, we realize that our parents were young people trying to figure stuff out when they had us. Give them some grace. Because they're still trying to figure it out. Adulting is hard. Doesn't matter how adult you are, it's hard. Whew. So enjoy being young people. That part too. But back to talking about my grandma a little bit. You know that part in the movie where they get shot? Like, my grandmother still has a bullet in her head from those moments. My grandmother went on stage the day after being shot in her head to support her husband at a concert that was promoting political unity in Jamaica called the One Love Peace Concert. I don't know what kind of woman she is to be able to become something bigger than herself in that moment. Of a nation. The decisions that we make as humans today is very important. I know that there has been a lot of conversation about the upcoming elections. Who in here has registered? Yeah. Who in here has ever voted before? Okay. Yeah, it's important. I don't need to belabor this part. But if you're not active, if you don't use your voice, then it will never be heard. And at the same time, politics are a part of these industries that have been created that are older than us. Everybody in this room has a responsibility beyond the vote to your local communities, to your own families. It's bigger than just going out and voting. It's activating where you are, how you can. Our voice matters. Seen? Never. I'm trying to be politically correct here. We just have to do more. Because politics is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get sucked into all of the dramatics of it. You are your own leaders. Seeing you are your own presidents. your own prime ministers, your own ministers. You have to think about it deeper than that and help to make the right decisions for your nation. I think Elon is doing a really great job. I feel the energy in this space that young people's perspectives matter. Like, y'all are curating some cool stuff. You have your president out there playing, hey, come on, guys. I feel that support. So stand up, do the right thing when the polls call, but also come back and do the right thing too. Like, take the action further. Yeah, don't just submit your grades to get A's and B's. That's great. But there's a whole earth outside that is waiting for your ideas and waiting for you to be brave enough to bring them to life collectively, because nothing happens in a void. And there are people who are smarter than you. Find them. Learn from them. Take notes from them. Put yourselves in spaces you've never been before. Conversations with people that you would never have conversations with. Trust me. That guy in the subway station in New York, you know, the homeless one that everybody walks past. Spend a little time. Have a conversation. You never know. Bob Marley's greatest songs were inspired from guys sitting on the corner of Trenchtown smoking ganja. Yeah. Many of us in here would think they're bums, right? You can say right, because you probably would. It's the truth. Like, it's just how the world has oriented us. I look successful today because I have on a snazzy pink suit. You know what I mean? But on a typical day, this is not how I represent. I'm doing work on the ground. We have to be aware of our own simple biases that we have inherited from the world that we live in. It just is what it is. So continue to ground yourselves and do the work to be able to break boundaries for a sustainable future. This isn't about color, race, or none of that talk. I'm talking about humanity over vanity. Becoming aware. You know what I mean? Yeah. As a woman now and as a mother, I've become more aware of how much women go through in this world. It's a real thing. Like, I guess because I grew up with my grandmother and nobody can really talk too tough to my grandmother, you know, like. But now, being outside of my grandmother's wings, I'm just like, wow. You'll be talking and people just overlook you. People turn their backs on you. And I'm just like, sir, excuse me. Hi. Stand up for each other. Act collectively. Advocate for change. Hold each other accountable. And it's not about pointing fingers. It's literally just like, maybe we could have done that differently. Or, I didn't like how that made me feel. Simple things to help us grow. You know what I mean? I had a very traumatic experience happen to me when I was like 17 or 18. I had just started acting in Jamaica, so I was all over the TV, newspaper, like just a lot of visibility very quickly. And I got into a car accident. And when I got into the car accident, I fell unconscious. And while I was unconscious, I had a dream about my great-grandfather, my grandma's dad. And he was just telling me, you know, stay focused because you have a lot of work to do. I don't know if many people in here are very spiritual, but like, that's a thing that really happened. You know, like, that's a thing that really happened. And I made a decision to step away from all of the lights, the camera, the glam, to really understand, like, what else do I use this platform to do? And so I encourage you to do the same too. Like, whatever skills you have, whatever platforms you have, use it to do greater. Because it's boring at the top by yourself. Nobody's there for you to share your successes or your joys with because you stepped on so many people to get where you are. No, it don't work. I promise you. And you can't eat money. You can't sleep beside money. You can't love money. It doesn't love you back. Have good relationships with people. Build community. They're cutting down trees to make money. We need trees to breathe. The earth is our greatest resource. So treat her with love and care. Yeah, I got so much things to say right now. So much things to say. Got so much things to say right now. So much things to say. Hey, I'll never forget, no way, how they crucified Jesus Christ. I'll never forget, no way, how they sold Marcus Garvey for rice. I'll never forget, no way, how they turned their backs on Paul Bogle. So don't you forget, no way, who you are, where you stand in the struggle. We got so much things to say right now. So much things to say. We got so much things to say each and every day. So much things to say, so much things to say. Yeah, it's a feeling, you know, the music comes from somewhere. It's responding to the earth. You know, like Three Little Birds. I was reading that book to my son the other day. And I was just like, Bob Marley was a very sad brethren, you know. He was sad a lot. And so when we hear these very happy songs, if you listen deeper, you hear a little bit more. Don't worry about a thing. He's talking to himself. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. Three little birds sit by my doorstep. You can sing too. Singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true. Singing, this is my message to you. Saying don't worry about a thing. Do 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 do. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Do 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 do. Don't worry. Do 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 do. Every little thing. It's gonna be alright. Oh, it feels so good, huh? To sing collectively. Hear all of our voices just made one voice stronger. That's how it happens. When we put all of our voices together, it will make one. So let's break these boundaries. Starting with our own homes and the homework I encourage you to do. Go home, have a conversation with the eldest living members of your family. Record it. Start your journey. Your family is so important to help to heal these generational traumas that inform us today. Be everything that we are. And don't let anybody diminish that. And find your tribe. They're there for you. What else you want me to do now? I feel like singing one more song. You guys going to sing it with me? Okay. Which song shall we sing together? I'm not a big singer. I hope you guys aren't looking for like a whole like show. All right. Okay. Ready? Who's going to start it off? Okay. All right. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love. What about the one heart? What about the let's get together and feel alright? Whoa, 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 whoa. Let them all pass all their dirty remarks. There is a question that I'd really love to ask. Is there a place for the hopeless sinners who have hurt all mankind just to save his own soul? One love, what about the one heart? What about the let's get together and feel alright? Hear the children crying. Hear the children crying, saying, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Believe me, let's get together and feel alright. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Yeah, beautiful. That was nice, eh? Yeah, give thanks. Whew. Took you through a little journey there, but that was beautiful. Thanks for singing with me. I'm not a singer. No, you guys don't post this on YouTube and expect you're going to get millions of views, all right? That's not this Marley, okay? All right, just to make that declaration. But I do want to open up the floor for any questions, comments, feelings, meditations. Don't be shy. We only have a few more moments left in this moment, and then we have to move on. Yes.
So we were talking about in my class. So
Okay, here we have another one. He's bringing one for you. Perfect. Thank you. Here, just come here. You know, just come here.
okay, so
Okay, we're good now. All right, we're good now, sis. We're good. Okay. Thanks, Tech.
So I said class, I didn't mean to say that, but me and my girls right here. So, and other people as well, we've been having conversations about being a black woman or being black women in spaces that aren't meant for us. So like, do you have any advice on how to grow as a black woman in places that are still changing, that are still ran by, as you said, systems that like we as a society have outgrown, because we've realized that there has been like hesitancy on like going further or trying to push further because we don't want to leave family, we don't want to hurt or anything like that. So do you have any advice about any of that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I want to say is that like, there are not any spaces that aren't meant for black women. Like, that's the first thing. Like, when I saw Michelle Obama make that comment about, like, black jobs, that one of those jobs that, you know, he's going for is a black job, I was just like, actually, yeah. There are no spaces that are defined for white or for black people, or, you know, this color thing makes it really hard to have conversations about systems, because the systems don't have a color, right? The systems were just made to oppress people who are of dark skin, but also people who want more than the system wants. And that's beyond color. So like what I want to say to you first, sis, is like take up space. Period. Like stop asking for permission. That's the first thing. Like when you ask for permission, you give people the opportunity to say no. It's better you do what you're doing than say sorry or excuse me. Right? Not even sorry, excuse me. Yeah. I hope that helps to start the conversation. Questions, comments, insights? Okay, I want to hear from some of the brothers because all of the girls are going to talk. I want some of the men to say something. Okay, I have my brethren back here.
Hello, I'm Brandon. I'm
Hey,
a first
Brandon.
year. And I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the movie, the One Love movie, and how you felt of that movie after doing this research about your grandparents.
Okay, great question. That movie is like my family's history, you know? So it was really my first, I had read the script, I helped with some of the casting on the back end, like, you know, we knew what was happening. But experiencing the film for the first time in an audience, like sitting in the audience, like I cried the whole movie. I'm not talking about like cute tears, I'm talking about like boogoos, like everything, like the person beside me was like, are you okay? Kind of a thing, you know? And I didn't realize that it would have been so intense. But it's the truth, like people conceive of my family's history as entertainment, as a story, which is why I've been very vocal recently about like bringing context to my grandmother's history, because I grew up with her. I didn't grow up with my grandfather. I didn't grow up with him. And very often people are like, wow, Bob Marley's granddaughter, it's so great. You're doing so great. We're so proud of you. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to start correcting people now and saying Rita Marley, because give her credit. You know what I mean? Give her credit where it's due. So this movie gave me an opportunity to be able to feel more confident about saying something like there would be no Bob Marley without Rita Marley. My grandmother introduced my grandfather to Rastafari. My grandmother helped to ground him as he continued to grow and, you know, travel all over the place. She was the strong part of his brain to be like, boy, Bob, this, or, you know. My grandma doesn't talk so much anymore now because she had a few strokes, but I've never heard my grandma say, well, my husband this or my husband that, or she'd always say, well, your grandfather would say this or brother Bob would do that, or, and being older now, I understand it a little bit more, you know, because sometimes I want to be like, well, my husband is a great visual artist and, you know, show him off. But that's not what my grandma was trying to do. She respected him as a human, as a brother who had something to contribute even bigger than their marriage. Because remember, there were young people who met in the ghetto who were broken, who didn't have mothers, and who made a commitment to be a family so that they wouldn't have to be broken again. Marriage and partnership, that's deep, hard. So even after he transitioned, she still continued to build a legacy, putting her own legacy in the shadows, you know? So that's why she has a granddaughter like me, a black woman like me, who is now taking up space without asking questions. You know what I mean? Yes, sis.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's actually Marley. I was named after
Oh,
Marley.
hi,
so I
Marley.
just wanted to say that. And I wanted to ask, since you talked about like family relationships a lot, and you mentioned like older ancestors and family members, but like those who are like closer to you, that like sometimes like some more like pain may have been involved in the relationship. How do you balance like healing and also growing the relationship?
How many cameras are on here? Coming from a big family like mine is very complex, to say the least. And it is hard navigating relationships when it's a brand too. You know, and brands have so many business complications and implications and that kind of thing. And it's just like, well, when is it just family? I'm still learning how. I think that's the most honest answer I can give at this time. I'm still learning how, and how to be confident in the fact that the intentions are true, and sometimes we are misunderstood. But as we grow up, both the kids and the adults, we grow more even in terms of how we can see. So there are moments of alignment. So I just encourage you not to fight all the way through, you know? Thanks. Not all hands up at one time, please. We only have 3 minutes left, not all hands up.
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming out here and for speaking to us, and that I really want to kind of bring back what you mentioned about how a lot of your family is perceived as like in the field of entertainment through music, but how it's so much deeper than that, and how something like entertainment can have value far beyond just enjoyment of it. I would say that like some of Bob Marley's music has gotten me through some times where I'm just very grateful for it, and for you being here. It feels like this kind of full circle connection that I'm still learning from, and thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me too. Thank you for that.
Hi, thank you again for speaking. My name is Janaya Cooper, and I'm from William & Mary. I think your grandmother is so beautiful, and I just really enjoyed the story of her, and then I really resigned with that, like, you know, growing up as a dark-skinned woman. I know anywhere, but especially in America, it's not always been easy getting called names in school and things like that. I think my big thing was just, when I looked in the mirror and my family who are so dark skinned, I never seen me as like, you know, different or ugly or any of that. So it's just like being perceived that way was just so hard to really understand why that was happening. So I really reside with that story, and I'm glad you shared it. And she's so beautiful. So it's like I'm looking at her and I'm just like, she's so beautiful. And people said the same things that they said about me, and it's just so crazy. But I'm an anthropology major.
Okay.
So I have worked on oral histories before, and I was just like, I worked with other people's oral histories, not really my own family. I do have a great-great-grandmother that's still alive, and she's still able to like talk about her story. But however, my grandmother, who was like her daughter, she died last year. And I really wish I would have recorded some of her stories, and because she was the one that really kind of moved away from home and things like that, and it started her feeling my mom and me and everyone. And I was just like, I really wish I would have captured that. And I'm really glad, like, you know, I'm able to work with other people's oral histories, but I really wish I would have had, you know, did mine, and hopefully I'll be able to do like the ones that I have left. So
And you can still. Thank you for that comment. So I guess I'll just slide through these few other images so you can see some more about my grandma and my grandfather. These pictures, these kaleidoscope frames are from taken at the Bob Marley Museum, which used to be my grandfather's home. My grandma turned my grandfather's home into the Bob Marley Museum in 1984. Yeah, so like I said, she was a musician even before she met my grandfather and still afterwards. This is them on stage. This is her with her dad. The Switzerland newspaper wrote an article about them. This is the first time that they were reconnecting after many years of not seeing each other in Switzerland, where he lived for a while. And that's him there reading an article of his daughter in a museum, which again is so important, you know, after not being there for so long, to be now old and to see that his children still, these moments are important. My grandma says, being a star, that's not all, because after a while the star falls or fades out. We are seeking for life everlasting, which is more important than being a star. This is her at the Bob Marley Museum after she created it at her desk. So my grandma was a businesswoman too. When she was off stage, she was doing contracts, making business deals, like running a legacy. And also healing, trying to heal in the space in between. She's very connected to spirituality. As Rasta people, we believe that we have to chant down Babylon, which means we have to create new models of coexistence that don't empower these neo-colonial ideas that we have inherited. Yeah, and our fashion is just so fly, guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my grandmother's image, she and the I3s, was really definitive for the Black or Afro-Caribbean woman in her time. Because the I3s were kind of like Jamaica's Supremes. You know, Diana Ross and the Supremes. The I3s kind of came with that same kind of elegant fashion, on stage, coordinated move. So they are also fashion icons. This is us in South Africa at the Africa Unite Youth Symposium. So my grandma takes up space everywhere she goes, you know. Beautiful. This is when the government of Jamaica were awarding her a doctor of elite literature or something. My grandma never finished university, so these moments being offered, these recognitions are really important. Here she's in her wheelchair, but still standing tall. There you go. Like that little girl from Trenchtown who who did it, you know? So this is us. And this series is symbolic for me for a number of reasons. Like, purple represents royalty. Grandma's always wearing purple, but her speaking and then handing the mic to me is very symbolic of our relationship. So that's my mom at the top with my great-grandma, Aunt Bida. And then this is us at the bottom. My grandma, her mom, and me. This was a film screening of my documentary that we did maybe about 10 years ago that brought all of us together. And 3 generations of us, me, my mom, and my grandma. And this is us. So in closing, I just want to remind us that this conversation about breaking boundaries for a sustainable future, it's not this big, huge, unreachable, inaccessible, philosophical, academic thing. Sometimes it's as simple as archiving and preserving your own family's history in a way to heal generational trauma so that you can break boundaries for a more sustainable future in your own family first. So let us hold each other for many more revolutions around the sun. Thank you so much for your time.